Welcome to Hold Fast, the LARP Podcast, Season 2, Episode 6.
Yay!
Yeah!
Welcome to Hold Fast, everyone, the podcast that comes out when it comes out.
That's as good a moniker as any.
Yeah, it's kind of what it's become lately. Hi guys!
Hey, what's up?
Yo.
Okay, Jake, we work together, so I see you all the time. Tony, I feel like I haven't seen you in forever.
Yeah, I
Wait,
think it's been...
Were you at Michael's the other day? I saw you the other day. At Mike's.
I guess
Was
you were
it
then.
Yeah.
Were you at Michael's?
No, I
You were
wasn't.
there at Michael's. I saw you at
I
Michael's.
was moving all weekend.
Okay.
I wasn't...
Maybe you weren't at Mike's.
think so.
You're seeing ghosts.
Both of us have the memory of a goldfish.
Apparently I just project your image into whatever social situation I'm in. I can deal with this if Tony's here.
I know the feeling.
Yeah, I feel like I haven't. Oh man, it's been a long time. It's good to see you, dude.
Yeah, thanks. You too. I feel like I haven't seen you since July game.
Yeah, July game. Yeah. Because August game was a thing. Well, yeah, speaking of that, this is going to be an event memories episode. So, sit back everyone because some bullshit has happened.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Has it ever?
Oh man. All right. So does anyone want to kick off before we get into all the Godo stuff? Does anybody have any sort of not everyone's dying memory?
Well, Friday night on July game, I was a monster. I was casting that game.
What kind of monster were you?
I was the Shadow. The Shadow?
The
Shadow?
Shadow.
The Shadow.
Yes.
I have vague memories about that, despite not being there.
Yes, you
Shadow.
didn't make it to July game.
No.
And I didn't make it to August game.
No.
The Shadow is actually a creature that came out last season.
Yep.
But, has sort of bleeded into this season with all the Shadow stuff happening.
Yeah, it fits.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's because you were one of the first ones that defeated one.
Yeah, I... Just like how I read event memories, I judge my monsters based on whether I can kill them or not. It's totally narcissistic.
I liked this and this monster. Why? Because I got to kill them.
That's funny. We were having a chat with some of the cast members the other day, like Sharon and Rob specifically. And no, this is after July game we had this chat. And she was like, when you go to Killing Blow anything, it's ridiculous because you're just like, Killing Blow 1! Killing Blow 2! Because I just get like so excited to kill anything in game. Because it's just not what I do. So it's, yeah.
You pin things with arrows, but
Exactly.
So when you finally get the chance to kill someone with your sword, you're like, oh my god, yes, it's happening.
Someone's already done it. Or like, I'll start like pelting arrows at thing and I'll actually down it and then someone will rush to go Killing Blow it. I'm like, let me do it. That one's mine. I worked really hard. Okay, so July game. I think I went to bed early that Friday night.
I think so. I sort of went to bed after casting as well, so I don't think a whole lot happened.
So let me set the mood for Saturday, if I may.
Sure.
So some stuff was happening Saturday, just like your kind of usual stuff, like NPCs coming in, yada, yada, yada. And then all of a sudden, there are animals coming from the end of the Southern Trail in town and flying and running all the way out through the Northern Trail of town. And it's just cast members who have these puppets, and they're just, like, running back and forth with these animals, basically simulating that, like, all the animals are fleeing.
Oh, cool.
And everyone's kind of like, what the heck?
Yeah,
what is going on?
We tried we tried some form of communication with the animals. Those who had animal husbandry or handle animal skills were trying to like pacify the animals, but they were having none of that. They were just flying and running away. We're like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah, so we were all kind of like, what?
Exactly.
It's like, but dearest bunny, tell me what's wrong. I ain't got time for this. I'm going.
I don't remember much of what else happened during that. Did I just hear a cat? Maybe that was a chair squeaking. I thought I heard a cat.
Sorry. I'm fairly certain that was the chair. I'm sorry.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, so all of that is happening. I can't remember much of what happened that day. I think I went swimming and it was just like a fun day. And then we just start getting attacked by just hordes and hordes of just enemy after enemy. This is sort of in the early or the late afternoon, early evening, all this starts happening. So it's just like rolling in one after the other. Oh, I should mention that Krond and Misty had come back earlier that morning.
Yeah.
Do you want to get into that?
Yeah, we had we had some news to bring into town.
So who are Krond and Misty?
Krond is my character.
Yep.
His name is Krond Thuliaga. I touched on him in the last season, for those of you who don't know. And Misty is an NPC played by our dear AD, Sharon. Mm-hmm. Misty was a character that I had met I think it was sometime last year when Kron went to go check on his family after the apocalypse. And then when Kron came back, Misty sort of stumbled into town again, much to Kron's surprise, and she's just sort of stuck around ever since as there's kind of like a little sister, big brother dynamic between them. Mm-hmm. So
they're fun. They're
It's
cute.
adorable.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. So we've just been kind of rolling with it ever since then. But I sort of want to start out by saying that in the off time between the June game and the July game, we had some RP to go over before July game happened. At the end of June game, Misty took off from Holdfast. She just sort of ran away.
Mm-hmm.
No.
And Krond didn't know where she went or what was on the go, so he tried to track her down and ended up finding her. So once he found her, we on our way back to Holdfast, we stumbled, quote unquote, upon this massive army.
Oh, snap.
Whoopsie doodles.
Yeah. Now, way back when the season started, there was a wanted poster up for a man named Godo, who Krond immediately recognized, or at least the name anyway. And Godo is someone who actually appears in Krond's backstory.
Oh.
So Krond was a little anxious, I guess, at the thought of maybe someone that he has a personal history with has come to the island.
Yeah.
And I guess everyone was kind of picking up on that vibe, including Misty, which is why she ran away in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Misty's always like, Krond, don't do the things. And Krond is like, Misty, doing the things is what I do. And she's mad at you.
Yeah.
Don't do the things, but I will commence to do the things harder.
So on the wanted poster of Godo, it had said that he had brought his army with him, which it is confirmed that is part of Krond's backstory too, his army. Mm-hmm. Ever since then, I don't think a whole lot of people knew about it because the wanted poster got taken down almost immediately after. Not by me, but by someone else.
Oh.
Yeah, so I don't really think a whole lot of people saw it.
Who the heck did that?
I don't know.
Interesting. Is there a mole in the group
Dun, dun,
for
dun.
Godo?
Dun dun dun.
I'm
What is
sho-
this, Krond? Krond is Godo. No.
Confirmed, not Godo.
Yeah, that's peculiar. Usually someone takes down a wanted poster if it's them. They're like you like mentioning no names, but Datura will walk up and see a picture of himself and be like, "No,
This is a bad picture of me.
yeah, it's like you
Slow
didn't
down.
catch my good side."
It was probably one of those moments where someone was like, "What the heck is this?" and then just forgot to put it back.
True, yeah.
Because
So
that
you
has
guys-
known to happen.
So y'all stumbled upon a big army on
Yeah.
the way back?
Yeah, so the entire reason why Misty went out was to look for the army. I don't know why. She's an 11-year-old girl. But anyway, once I found out, I was like, all right, you know what? Fine. Some recon would be useful. Sort of just playing along. I didn't really actually think that we would stumble upon it, but we did. And it was huge.
Oh boy.
It was like there was soldiers upon soldiers upon soldiers. We
Sylvie-
eyeballed maybe like over 1,000.
Sylvie saw the army.
Yeah.
Well, she saw their auras. So I know how big. It's a big army.
I didn't see shit.
So we had that report to bring back to the town, and that's sort of where we rolled into Saturday because that's why I was casting Friday night because Kron technically wasn't in town.
Yeah, you guys were in the process of coming back.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Saturday, I think
Yeah.
noontime, we rolled in. Misty and Kron had been traveling for days. Very little water, no food, just to get back as fast as we could because this army was basically on our doorstep and we didn't even know about it.
So this all happens, and then you have all the animals running and flying out of town.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all like, okay. And then, yeah, it just starts like, late afternoon. We start getting wave after wave after wave
Yep.
of this army.
Each
and,
wave getting progressively more difficult than the last.
and it was so cool because like one of the cast members was like drumming.
Mm-hmm.
He was like a bard for them. He was doing a drum and a song.
Yeah.
Which was, it really set the tone so well. Like it was just one drum and it made it like so much better.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And then it was just, it was wave after wave after wave. So, like the first wave came early afternoon. I feel like we did a pretty good job of taking care of them.
Well, yeah, the first wave wasn't so bad. They were hitting for about average damage, right?
Yep.
Anywhere from 5 to 7.
Mm-hmm.
But these were, for lack of a better word, barbarians, right? So
Right.
they, at any time they could just switch like that and go into rage mode and hit for more damage, right?
Yeah.
But the first wave wasn't so bad. They were, we could get them down in a couple hits, and there was a lot of us, right? And only so few of them at a time. But the thing about that was they had a lot of respawns because there's not as much cast as there are players, right?
Yeah.
So the first wave was just like a constant bombardment for like 25, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, geez, really?
Yep.
It was a lot. But I would just like to say it was the first time at game that we've had, like we have a lot of people that do archery at game, but we don't have a lot of consistent archers. And it was like the first time that those of us who were consistent archers actually tried to organize ourselves a little bit.
Cool.
And actually like we were, doing little formations and we were like, positioning ourselves in good places. So that was really fun for
That's
me.
awesome.
I
love
will
that
shout
kind of
out
stuff.
I will shout out Lilium and Co specifically at that game.
Oh, yeah.
We really did it to them. So yeah, that first wave kind of came and went. And from what I remember from that first wave, there wasn't like a whole lot of like, we're Godot's army or anything like that. It was just
No.
kind of random. We were like, all right.
Yeah.
What was that all about?
But one thing that was very distinct was what they kept chanting over and over again was the word Rakash or Rakesh, something like that. And Kron, there's only two things that Kron remembers as a child when Godo attacked, and that is Godo's face and the word Rakesh.
What does that mean?
I think it's just a battle cry. At first, I thought it might have been some form of cry to like a deity or something, like I smite thee in honor of such god,
Yes.
right?
So we're not going to use it against them. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah,
Okay.
In the name of Rakash.
it's either that or it's like a battle cry. I think it means the Fang,
Okay.
which is the name of Godo's clan or army.
Okay. Cool.
So yeah.
So I think after that first wave, there was a little break, maybe,
Yeah,
because right,
in between each wave there was about an hour of rest,
yes.
and then the next wave would hit, and then an hour of rest, and the next wave, and so on.
The second wave
That's
was
when-
my favorite, and that's when shit went down.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I don't even know how to organize this because so much stuff happened.
Story time.
Jake is sitting here like, that sounds great, you guys. I was working.
No, I'm genuinely enthralled to hear what happened because all I've heard of that event was there were lots and lots of Godo's fighters and they came in waves.
Yeah.
But I don't know anything about the waves other than they got more and more, and then people went to bed, and then it was like, okay, we're done now, and then like, surprise, there's more of us.
Oh yeah, that was terrible.
So what happened in the second wave?
So in the second wave, I'll just tell what I remember from it. I don't even remember how the second wave started. All I remember is that we were all doing the same thing, like trying to organize ourselves on the field and get ourselves into, good positions and, basically make ourselves the most efficient in taking these guys out.
This was our time to repair armor, weapons, everything too.
Yeah, exactly. So there would be like different types of them. Like there were some of them that were mages that were casting like void destroys and
No, void kills, not void destroys.
There was a void destroys though.
Was there?
Yeah, I think so. Or no. Maybe just there was void kills, and then there was no. There was with water I rust.
Okay.
Yeah,
because if
'cause
someone
my
was
armor
like
got
void
rusted
destroys,
out.
we just
And I
hit a whole
think-
new level.
I
Yeah.
think there was dematerializing. I don't know how to say that word.
Dematerialized, astral plane dematerialized.
Yeah, like somebody, weapons were being taken, things like this. So we were really getting our butts handed to us. And then there was Sharon who was carrying a large club and just kind of messing with us. I remember at one point we were all in the Citadel and they were all outside of the Citadel. There was like a group of 5 to 7 of them outside the Citadel. And we're all just standing there like, what are we going to do? And Oren looks at me and he's like, our rings. And I was like, yes, our rings. So we like tell everyone, we're like, okay, like let us out and close the door behind us. Like we're going to be fine. So they're like, okay. Anyway, we have these rings that make us pretty strong. So we hold hands, and it's only activated when we hold hands. So we hold hands, and we run out of the Citadel. We're both pretty much on our last legs at this point anyway. Like, we've been healed for, like, as much as they can heal us in, like, 5 minutes. Yeah. Like, that's all we got. So we're running around. I can't even remember why we lost. We ran out of the Citadel because we couldn't find Degran, and we couldn't find Pierre. So we run out of the Citadel, and Sharon's barbarian character is just like, oh, I'm just gonna follow you guys. Like heck y'all, I'm just gonna follow you. So we're like running around trying to do anything, trying to lose her, trying to like get her distracted by anything else. But no, she's just following us around. But then she's like standing in front of us, walking backwards, I think, and I see Marisi coming up behind her, and all he's got at this point is a dagger because his Guandao has been dematerialized. So all he's got is this dagger. Oh, no. And he's sneaking up behind her, and he's just like, whatever, assassinate, backstab. And she's just like, the fuck was that? So it immediately broke her concentration from us, and we were actually able to get her down after, which was nice because we were both at like 2 health at this point. Oh boy. We were not doing so well. And yeah, we were able to down her. Before I get into the big stuff that happened, the deaths.
Oh boy.
Do you have anything else? That was a very cool part of the battle, but there's even more cool parts of the battle. I just don't want to take over this whole conversation.
Yeah, there's there was each wave had its own little niche and its own assortment of moments that's, we can't really touch on, not because we don't want to, because we don't remember it all.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
But there is one thing that happened. I thought it was funny. So you mentioned Kotaro, right?
Yep.
And Kotaro is a character that was brought in. I think that game, July, yep. Right? Yeah, so he was a new player, and so he didn't know everyone's faces yet.
Yeah.
And there was a bunch of just bodies lying around the Citadel, and we were trying to get our allies into the Citadel so we can get them armored up and healed up and whatnot.
Yeah.
And here comes Kotaro just dragging we can't see his face. Kotaro's just dragging this person into the Citadel and then plops them down. And everyone's looking like, who's that? And we all look, and it's Travis, and he's casting as a barbarian.
Oh.
And Kotaro's like, wait, you're not an ally. Killing blow 1.
It's like, what did you do? It's like, evidently I brought him in here to show you all that I am not to be trifled with. Killing blow 1. Good.
Oh my gosh, I've never heard that story until now. That's amazing.
That's actually beautiful. Like, in that moment, like, it's like, I've got someone now. We can. Wait a minute. I don't remember you.
I can only imagine that Bard character just being like, I'm just gonna let him drag me in.
Yeah.
I want to see what happens.
Yeah, it's like, what an interesting turn of events. Let us see how this proceeds.
So, after everything calms down,
starts getting into the night now.
Yeah.
This is when the third wave starts to hit.
No, this is before the third wave, I believe. What? I do want to get into, there is one thing I want to shout out. I'll do that later, but I will get into this right now. After this whole incident with Oren and Sharon and I escaping because we had to look for Pierre and Degran, I go over to Pierre and I'm like, "Are you okay, man?" And I'm like shaking him awake and I'm like stabilizing him and I'm like, "What do I see?" And he's like, "He just seems dead to you." And I'm like, "Pierre is dead." And Oren's like, "No, he's not. He's in a trance state." And I'm like, "Okay, we're good." And then I see Degran, and it's the same thing. And I'm like, "Degran's fine." And Oren is like, "No, he's not." It's
like, oh, he must be in a trance too. It's like, no,
he's not. So then it was actually a super touching moment. Oren got down next to Degran, and he was like, "No, you're not dead." And then because he's like medic 3, he can tell like what kind of state he's in, if he's actual, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, no, you're not dead. You can't be dead. Hold on a second. And he starts digging through his bag and he goes, I don't have anything for this. And I was like, is there anything back at the Citadel? And he's like, no. And he's digging through his bag knowing that there's nothing there, but he's like grasping at straws trying to find something for him. And he's like, I don't know what to do. And this just starts this wheel, this just spiral out of control for Orin. Like Degran is actually dead. He got killing blows.
Yep.
Degran
had his throat slit.
He had his throat slashed.
Jeez.
Dead on the ground, gone for good. So on an out of game level, we all know that Degran has always said after 3 deaths, he's calling it a game. Mm-hmm. So this is the death of Degran. This is it. Orin is like just spiraling out of control, just like not okay. I'm just super awkward because I'm like, I'm his wife, but I don't know what to tell him. I don't know what to do. Or Asher's just like, I don't know what to tell him.
For reference, Degran and Orin share backstories, and they are best friends.
They've actually, these are 2 characters they've brought in from a D&D campaign that they played together years before.
Yeah.
So these are like 6 years of these characters.
Yeah.
Like a long time.
Mm-hmm. I remember the guy who played Degran. He was telling me about that. He was like, "Oh yeah, originally we came from like a D&D thing."
Yep.
And all that, and I was like, "Oh, that's really cool."
Yeah. What's the name of the guy in the D&D campaign who died? I laugh every time.
Oh, I don't know. I wasn't
Donald Mack.
Oh my.
Donald Mack. He died of dysentery. So then we have this. I can't remember if that talk that we had over by the Hangman was before or after the.
That was definitely after. Because the thing that you're thinking of happened just like at dawn, and we had our discussion during the night.
Okay, so I will bring up this point next. So we hit one last wave of these guys.
Yep.
But instead of them attacking us, they stood at the top of the Southern Trail, right at the top of the field, and they were like...
They stood in like a perfect line too, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
It was a face-off against them and us.
Oh, funny story about this little face-off. I shot an arrow at them, and Rob yelled, "Hold."
Yeah.
And I thought it was because I hit him in the crotch. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, but really it was his character telling us to like, no, stop, like we want to talk. I was like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to, don't get mad at me. But it was fine. So yeah, they stop at this like line in front of the Southern Trail and they're just like, we've tested your will and like blah, 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 like your will is good. They were like trying to like test our malice, I guess. And Orin's just like, I ain't give a fuck about that. He didn't actually say that. That's what I would have said.
That's a paraphrase.
Yeah, he was like, you killed my brother. And he pulls his champion necklace.
Yep.
And he just fucking wastes them.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was crazy.
For those of you who don't know, when one of the elemental champions pulls their necklace, they get a bunch of power-ups. They're able to cast spells without mana, and they can cast as many times as they want.
Yeah.
Orin
So
broke
he
the
was just
necklace, cast the air will defend me on him a bunch of times, making him immune to physical damage, and then just charged in head-on against this group of people by himself.
Jeez.
Yep. He went right for Rob, too, just smashing him with his magical sword. And then after that,
hot.
a bunch of us followed suit.
It was a little like, oh, you're gonna regret this later, but like, that's my man.
It was so intense.
Oh,
he got
man.
my Fighting Spirit Award for
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
one.
like, I wish I could have been there just so I could vote for that, because that's like, even just the act of, I'm gonna use my special power to ruin you, that's cool, but like, where it came from, of like, I am doing this because I am enraged because you just killed, like, basically my brother. You have, like, I will show you not an ounce of mercy.
Not only that, but he picked the perfect time. Like, he let them say their piece, and then he was just like, that's nice, goodbye, and just pulled it and just laid waste to them. It was so good. It was my favorite moment of that game.
I think it was too. That was my favorite
That
moment.
sounds phenomenal.
Unfortunately for Alex, Cass decided to take some downtime because they were very tired from all of that.
Yeah.
And his power-ups that he gets from that necklace only last an hour. So he was just kind of pacing for an hour being like, somebody attack me. I've got all this power right now and it's all going to waste.
That was a good fight, though. I crushed a head like a coconut.
It was good. My friend exploded with air. I crushed a man's skull like a coconut.
Well, here's the thing. After Alex charged into their line, you and I, Erica, followed suit.
Yeah.
And then I took down Ryan's barbarian almost immediately. And then Sharon came at me. And then I started attacking Sharon. She went down on the ground, but she didn't lose her HP. She was still conscious and flailing around. So I drop Graham, go down, grab her by the head, and I'm like, exceptional strength. I crush your skull.
Oh, man.
So much like the mountain to Oberon, I went.
It's so nasty. Krond, if drawn as a cartoon character, would be one of those cartoon characters who's like way too big and his hands are way too big and can literally just like hold your whole head.
I like the ideal character portrait for Kron. Hopefully, well, you made it would be drawn by Rob Liefeld.
What?
He's
I think I know who you're talking about.
He's one of the fellas that draws like all like the super burly comics of like here's Captain America with his shoulders as wide as a car.
Yeah.
Like, he's very known for doing like how many muscles does the human body have? Let's double that. And
that's Tony anyway.
And also like I'm not drawing feet. And just, like doesn't draw feet, but yeah, it's just like
he gets
like,
cars
just,
for feet.
Like he's very, very good at drawing people that are like immensely muscular and like not necessarily in the realistic way, but in the sort of in the very imposing. Like you see this fellow, you're like, you could destroy me, like utterly destroy me.
That's Krond.
So I'm just picturing that in that one moment, like just
that's why Krond does a tournament.
We're friends, right?
We're on.
I don't like that silence, Tony. We're friends. Cheap. Like, I would like to request not being crushed by yours.
Well, I mean, Krond only has one job, so I got to make sure I do it well.
Krond smash. Just don't get in the way of Krond smash.
You know what? I'll put that on the to-do list. To-do list: not be smash, not be Krond smash.
So after that all went down, and we're waiting the hour out for the next people. I think it was maybe 40 minutes in between one round and the next round, and this was another favorite part of my game. So we're all hanging out around, and everybody's having heart-to-hearts. Like, Degrin is dead. This is the leader of the Order of Iron.
Yeah.
This is the guy. So I go to Krond. Asher goes to Krond and is like, all right, what just happened to Degrin can't happen to Orin. And I know if anything happens to me, whether I'm okay or not, Orin's going to put himself in a stupid situation. So no matter what happens here, if shit is getting bad, I want you to grab Orin and just two of you just get out of here. Like, fuck this place. Just get out of here with Orin. And Krond was like, yeah. Okay.
I will do this.
I will do this for you.
There was a lot of, surprisingly, a lot of emotional RP between a lot of people that I didn't anticipate having emotional RP with.
Yeah. It was nice.
Was like, Krond was welling up.
Aww.
I think Asher was welling up.
I welled up when Orin was like actually genuinely crying, because this was a character who that's when I was like, oh my gosh, this fucking hurts.
Yep.
And then what Orin said, Orin was like, I wish he was here for when we finally gave him grandchildren, because Degrin is constantly on our case about, when are you going to give me grandkids? When are you going to give me grandkids? Whether he's biologically their grandfather or not, he's constantly like, I'm your dad.
Yeah.
When are you going to give me grandkids?
It's like, we're older than you. It's like be quiet and go to your room. I'm your dad.
You're grounded. So yeah, Orin was like, we didn't, he wasn't here for when we finally had kids. And I was like, oh, my fucking feels. So then Asher goes to Orin, and this leads into another story later. But Asher goes to Orin and is like, all right, promise me, because I can't lose you. I basically said the same thing to Orin that I said to you. Promise me, because I can't lose you, that if I say we go, we go. Because, I'm done with all this. And this is actually how I bought out of my disadvantage. Because Asher's disadvantage is, if there's trouble or if there's a fight, she's the bravest warrior ever. That's how she thinks of herself. She thinks she's super brave. She's going to run into anything. That's out the window now. She's married. She wants to have kids with her husband. So this is how I bought out of it. Basically, yeah, if shit goes down, if I say leave, we leave. And he goes, okay. Before any of his powers are back, any of this is restored, we start we start getting pelted again. These people start rolling in. He's in his burnout time now. Mm-hmm. Basically, after you pull... Wait, now how does it work? You get it for an hour, and I think you're burned out for an hour?
I'm not burnt out, but...
he couldn't do anything, basically. Yeah, so
he basically only had his sword and shield skills after that.
I don't think he had that.
Really?
I don't know. Anyway, basically he's like, they start rolling in again, and he looks at me and he's like, I can't do anything to them right now. I'm too weak. And I was like, okay, we're leaving. So what we did was he blended with air, I think, and we walked around, and I did what I could. I pelted a few things with arrows, and then we were like, we're getting out of here. And we literally went up the trail to leave town. And we actually went out of town for a moment. And that's when Cass calls basically... in the distance, all around this place for, so many miles, you just hear drumming. So we were like, okay, we're going to, hit all this drumming. There's no point of us running away. So we came back into town. But we almost left all y'all. We almost just left you all in the dust. We were like, bye!
Aw, such good friends. Like, I would do anything for you. I get the fuck out of Dodge for you. It's like, what, bye?
And that was basically, that's the end of, all my emotional RP for Saturday night, so I will stop dominating this conversation.
That's okay. I do have one thing that I want to
for sure.
say for Saturday night. Actually, two things now that I think about it. One's funny, one is more on a serious note for Krond.
Okay.
The funny thing, this was actually to sort of bounce off of your drums in the distance sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Travis came in and was like, okay, so we're not actually here, but you hear drums in the distance, right? And so he actually went up to the forest and started just beating the drum, right?
Oh, cool.
So we would have that ambiance at least.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that call.
Yeah. I remember this.
Oh.
I didn't hear that. So I hear drums up in the woods, and I just think the drummer boy is up there buffing the soldiers on the field. So none of us could touch these soldiers. This was the fourth wave. This was the most powerful wave, and they were just wrecking us.
Oh, jeez.
So Krond does something. Krond decided to do something that he normally never does: sneak. So I actually go into the woods with Jaya. I'm like, all right, so I have an idea. I don't know if it's going to work, but I need to drop my armor. So I actually start taking off all of my armor.
Also, what an iconic duo. Krond and Jaya. Love that.
Thank you. So, yeah, my plan was to sneak and try and gank the bard.
Yeah.
So I go into the woods with Jaya, take off all of my armor except my greaves, because I don't want my shins to die in the dark.
That's legit.
So I de-armor, I plop it in a pile somewhere. It's so dark I can't see. And I'm like, all right, I'm just going to head to the sound. So I start making my way up through the woods towards where I hear the sound. I can't see anything. It's the woods and it's dark.
Yeah.
Right? So it takes me a solid 20 minutes to even get to the drums. And then when I finally get there, I have to make my way around behind Travis. So I was there sneaking for 30 minutes.
Yep.
And I get up right behind Travis. And then he's like, is there someone behind me? And I'm like, yeah? You know I'm Oog, right? I'm not here, actually, in game. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I just spent the last half hour sneaking up behind you. So I was angry.
Yeah, no, he came down, Tony came down from the woods and was like, yeah, no, I can't get to him. Can't get to him, not today.
I actually came down from the woods. Yeah, I came down from the woods, and I was talking to you, Asher, and you were like, Oog, Sharon's looking for you. None of us could find you, and we didn't know where you were, so we were actually worried about you. And I was like, oh, okay. So I make my way over to, I think, the ruins where Sharon and Cass were. Mm-hmm. So I make my way over, and I'm like, are you there, God? It's me, Margaret. They were like, where the hell were you? Well, you see.
I heard some drums, and so snuck through the woods for half an hour.
Not that I'm bitter about it.
Only to be told, there weren't any drums where I thought there were.
The last thing that happened that night, it wasn't even a wave. It was just another group came in. It wasn't a group of attackers, but leading them was the man himself, Godo.
Oh, are you talking about Sunday?
No.
This
was Saturday night.
Oh, right. Okay.
Godo came in Saturday night.
Yes, he did, didn't he?
And then he threw not a prisoner, he threw one of his warriors to us.
Yes.
I didn't know Godo was a part of that group. I was just kind of standing all the way in the back, because there was a bunch of us there.
Yeah.
I was standing in the back, and Godo throws one of his fighters to us. And what does he say? Yeah, I think you might remember.
He said something like, I don't remember. Alex would definitely know. It was like, basically like, kill her if that's what you gotta do.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
I don't know. It was, I don't know what the point
I
of that was,
also
to be
feel
honest.
so bad for that character. Oh my gosh, she went through it.
As Godo was leaving town, it sort of just clicked in my brain, and I was like, wait a minute, that's him. So I slowly make my way out towards the back, from the back of the crowd up towards the front of the crowd. I go towards Godo, and I think Pierre was Oop at this point.
Yeah.
Right, I think he had blended with the air or shadow or something.
Yeah.
And I go up, and I just say, Godo. And then Rob turns around, and he walks over towards me, and Godo and Kron just sort of have this face-to-face.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know this.
Yeah, there was a couple words were said. Kron was doing everything that he could not to just attack him on the spot, because he knew that was a bad idea with the shape that we were in right now. So all of what happened, Kron
also,
just sort
everyone
of
went
himself.
to bed, so...
Yeah, I think that was another big reason why we got our ass handed to us
that's
the fourth
sort of...
wave.
and that plays into why.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Either way, Kron decided to withhold his rage and just sort of let Godo walk away. But at some point during that little face-off, Godo had sort of like, you know, those weird finger things that he has?
Yes.
I haven't seen them, but I've heard of
Yeah,
them.
he has like long black fingers.
It allows him to inject poison, but I think it also does some psychic shit too
I'll get into it. He can do it.
Yeah, he touched Kron and like his eyes just sort of like went sporadic, and I think that was him sort of like searching my memory, because the next morning shit hit the fan.
Yeah.
So anyway, that night Godo goes away and Kron he's not having any of that.
Before we get into Sunday morning, can we talk a little bit about the prisoner that was left with us?
Yes, we can.
Just a quick little mini story. Leaves a prisoner with us. She's like, I'm just going to bite my tongue and kill myself because I don't care what any of you are going to do. So we're all like, we need to keep her alive. Maybe she's important if he just handed her over to us.
Yeah.
But it was very late at this time, and I was like, all right, Oren, I trust that you've got this under control. I'm going to go to bed. And right before I go to bed, Mar is like, I'm going to take her and I'll handle this. And I was like, I immediately don't trust this. Long story short, basically they like cut her Achilles tendons and her hamstrings so she couldn't run away. And they did all this just crazy, torturous stuff to her. And I was like, what the guys, that's not what we were trying to do here. And apparently, anyway, the second she woke up, she bit her tongue and, died that way.
Ugh.
Yep. So, just a fun moment there. Anyway, Sunday.
Sunday is sort of the climax of what happened. The accumulation of that weekend. So, everyone was just fucking dead tired at this point. Mm-hmm. Everyone was wary when we woke up. We were wary when we were eating breakfast. And
I would just like to say I did the most amazingly fast character change on Sunday that I've ever done in my life. I ran into the battlefield with my armor not even done up. It was great.
God, what happened?
Okay, so... Oh, we both just said, okay, so. Jinx, you owe me a Pepsi, bitch. So I was Asher, but I didn't have any armor on. Uh-huh. And then Godo shows up, and he's like, causing people to like turn against us. So there was like evil.
He was creating blindly loyal minions out of people of Holdfast.
There was
so
evil
our allies
friend
were
Theo.
turning against us.
That's where Faux Theo came from.
Faux Theo, yes. Yeah, he was like, is that all you got? Like, fight me. I was like, what is he going on about? It's like, is Theo just fighting all of the army out there himself? Like, he's OP as fuck. But no, he was fighting us, which makes a lot more sense as to why we were all dying. So I run out in Asher garb and I pelt out a few arrows. Mm-hmm. And then Godo was like, I want to see, like, the people who, like, are the leaders of your town. And I was like, shit. So then I just run back into my tent, take off all my armor, put on what I can of Sylvie, and I just show up like I'm Sylvie now. I have my tail on, I have my ears on, all this different kind of stuff. And basically he's like, you have these points that you made. This all ties into the whole apocalypse thing when we closed the rifts.
Yeah,
we we tethered all these points with magical energy that basically created this net around Holdfast. And he was like, I'm going to zap all the energy from them. And we were like, no, you're not. So Verbena very bravely is like, sure, I'll show you where they were. She wasn't there for any of the tethering, so she's just leading him on a wild goose chase. But Sylvie doesn't really know this, though, so she's just like, Marisi, follow him. Marisi is my bodyguard and my out-of-game boyfriend, for those of you who don't know, and it makes it much more funnier as to what he did to me right now. So Marisi's following them through the woods, and he wants to know what Godo can do. That's his whole thing. I'm going to find out what Godo can do. So he just starts shit-talking him. Like, oh, I bet you can't do this, and I bet you can't do that, and why would you even be asking permission, if you didn't need to, blah, blah, blah. He's just shit-talking him. And Godo's like, okay, and he fast poisons Arden, who's up there. And Marisi's like, all right, apparently he gets an antidote, something happens, and then he breaks both of Marisi's arms, and Marisi is still shit-talking him. And Godo's like, okay, you know what? None of this is going to get to you. I know what will. And he goes down out of the woods, and he looks at Sylvie and says, my stare, makes you pass out.
Yeah, the power of my voice knocks you out.
Yes, the power of my voice knocks you out, knocks me out, and takes Sylvie out of town. And that's where I ended Sunday game. I was like, thank you, Aaron, for all you've done for me, sweetheart.
Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs.
And I was out of game, but I was just kind of watching from the sidelines. I was getting some water. And they wake him up because he's been knocked out, and his arms are dead, and he's like, what the fuck happened? Where is she? And he's freaking out, and what do you do?
Okay, so they were debating how they were going to fix his arms. They were like, we can't fix them. They're shattered. They're dust. All right, so what are we going to do? Let's try amputating and regrow them. What do we have to cut them with? Not much. Okay, so what are we going to do? And then I just walk on up. I'm like, exceptional strength. I rip off your arms.
Oh, jeez.
And then they're like, oh my god, let's regrow them down.
Oh.
And that's where that ended for me.
Boy.
Yeah. My Sunday was entirely different from yours.
What happened on your Sunday?
Well, when Godo rolled into town, he had Misty captured.
Right.
Yep.
Yes.
So I was already pissed off at Godo anyway.
Yeah.
And then I see my little sister, for lack of a better word, just being dragged behind him with a rope. And so I lose my shit. So I step outside the inn, and Godo is walking up the steps of the porch. So I just freak out, and I'm like, Godo! And I start swinging Graham. He caught it in his arms.
Oh my gosh.
I swung Graham as hard as I could, and Godo just caught it.
There was also a fantastic bit of role play between you and Rob. It's when he was leaving town with all of us, and I was kind of being sneaky and opening my eye a little bit so I could see what was going on. And he just walked past you and just basically just pushed you down, and you were just and I was like, oh, that's how powerful he is. That Krond is just laid out.
We actually after Godo had caught Graham. He threw me to the side, and I dropped Graham at that point, but I was so enraged that I didn't even bother picking it up. I actually, started flailing and punching Rob as hard as I could, and both of us were just sort of getting into this fist fight.
That you could sell tickets for that.
Yeah. But Godo, obviously, Ig, is super strong, so he was just handing Krond an ass whooping. He actually chokeslammed me twice in that match.
Jeez.
He took me by the throat up and just dropped me. Oh. Then he paralyzed my left arm, so I couldn't use that. Yeah, and it was a pummeling. I didn't stand a chance at all. That's how powerful. He is. I couldn't do anything.
Day.
Oh boy.
And then he kept saying this over and over again. He was like, "Thuliaga child, incite me," and I don't know what that means.
What does that mean?
Incite
me?
I'm not sure if it's incite, INSIGHT, or incite, INCITE.
I think he was probably trying to get, because I mean,
is that an egging you on kind of thing?
Yeah, so like incite me as in inciting rage.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah,
kind of thing.
Yeah, incite me, get me wound up. Now, show me what you got.
I kept saying it over and over and over again.
coming from someone who was not there, like, it does sound like he was trying to say, like, okay, like, you're clearly trying to attack me, I'm whooping your ass without even thinking about it. Mm-hmm. Like, go on, try and incite me, then you'll see what I can really do.
This is, like, the coolest enemy I've, like, encountered so far.
He's a badass.
Yeah.
He knocked everyone out and then used me as a Captain Morgan barrel.
What?
He put his foot on me and just sort of, like, pinned me to the floor.
Rob's good at what he does.
He was this close to breaking my spine. Obviously.
Yeah.
But, afterward, a couple people came, dragged my unconscious, mutilated flesh towards the Citadel, and they tried to medic me back up.
So Misty and Sylvie were taken. Maurice had his arms ripped off. It was a good game. Do you guys... We've already been talking for, like, 45 minutes. Do you guys want to get into August's game? You guys can tell me all about it, because I missed it. Because my body hates me.
Well, to be honest, I actually wasn't present for a lot of the stuff that happened to August, because Krond was sort of in a broody mood.
Jake, fill us in.
Okay, I was at August game. I was casting for nearly all of it, other than for a very brief moment on Sunday.
I will mention, Degran did come back August game.
Yep,
he did. He did end up getting a ritual to come back. Mainly because he was like, I spent a lot of XP on this character. I'm not going to give them up just yet.
If there is one thing that Michael loves more than actual money, it's experience points.
I see.
Degran loves both of those things.
Okay, so I know dribs and drabs about what happened in August. Obviously, I know the things that I was involved with. So, early last season, I believe, or like no, the first in one of the first 2 quarters of last season, I think we had a message basically saying that the Primus is coming to visit.
Right.
And in universe, the Primus is essentially, in air quotes, the Pope.
Yeah.
He's not the highest person in the Gnossian religious sect.
The Church of Nos.
Yeah, the Church of Nos. But he's essentially the Pope.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You can hear some stuff that I don't know if it's still canon or correct in, I think, the 2nd episode of Holdfast. We do a little lore bit, and there's some stuff about the Primus in there.
Yeah.
Either way, he's very, 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 very high up in the Church of Nos. Mm-hmm. Like, communes with Nos. Like, we'll literally just be like, okay, I will ask Nos questions and Nos will answer me.
Okay.
So then he comes to visit, and for a while, like, all we really knew when this announcement was first made was that he was coming to visit and that Father Francis, which was another player there who was of a Gnossian faith, should be there.
Yep.
So we're like, okay, so we've been kind of waiting for it for a while, and then it didn't really happen that season because, like, other things were planned that didn't come in. So it was like, oh, well, yeah, maybe next time the Primus will be here. Maybe next time the Primus will be here. Except this time he was here.
This time it happened.
And me and the guy who played the Primus, we chat. I'll stop thinking at him. Me and the guy who played the Primus, we chatted about kind of what we want to do. It was essentially, we were putting Father Francis on trial for crimes against the Church of Nos.
Mm-hmm. Father Francis!
Yeah, so... Because Father Francis was doing, like, kind of his own version of Nos, but, honestly a good version of Nos, like, with the whole, like, hey, let's try and do the whole religious thing, but without the slavery is good. And so it was, like, actively, like, his kind of collecting charity was to basically buy slaves of the Empire their citizenship so they could be free people. Mm-hmm. Which is very much against the tenets of Nos. But anyway, so the Primus comes in, and I'm his kind of right-hand man. So everyone's thinking, okay, he's basically the Pope. He's going to have an armada of people with him, because it's very...
You need a Pope-mobile-esque, but fantasy medieval style.
Except what they had was a crazy, loud, stumbling, old drunk guy... who was swearing all the time. If any of you have seen the TV show Father Ted, I was essentially playing Father Jack.
Is the Empire going downhill? Like, what is happening here? Why would the Primus come to Holdfast? Who cares?
Father Francis cared a lot. Father Francis, or as he's now known, Bishop Francis.
Oh my gosh, that's some character development.
Oh boy,
right there.
I'll get into that in a second. But yeah, so Friday night we both come in. The Primus is just kind of sitting. Well, I come in first, and then the Primus comes and just sits and waits. We managed to convince everybody that I'm the Primus. And they're like, so for a while we have like Verbena, who you mentioned earlier, took Godo on his little wild goose chase into the woods, and like, I know where the points were, they're over here. She's expecting the Primus to come in.
Right.
So she's like, Ig and Oog dressed in this beautiful ball gown, and it's like, I've baked this loaf of bread, and like, out of game, actually baked a loaf of bread.
I love her so much. Sorry, continue.
Honestly, all the love. And so is aware that the Primus is coming in, except this crazy drunk bastard is stumbling in. They're like, I was like, drink! And they're like, you know what the best place to do? Enjoy a drink outside, under the company of the stars. That's the best place to drink. You should go there right now, please. And is like trying her very, very hardest to get me to go away, so that when the Primus arrives, they don't see this angry, drunk stumble fellow ruining everything. They then, they being Father Francis and Verbena, then come to suspect that I myself might be the Primus, because the actual Primus, basically, they approach him and is like, what's going on? And he's like, I am the bodyguard for the Primus. And they're like, where's the Primus? Points to me.
Oh no.
I'd only given myself a first name, and they're like, what's your name? I'm like, Jack. Like, what's your full name? I'm like, out of game. I'm like, I don't know, I haven't thought of a name. So I was like, Primuses don't have last names, so I don't have a last name. And they're like,
Is that true?
And they're like, oh my god, you're the Primus. So then all of a sudden Verbena's like, His Holiness, thank you for coming. Please come inside and enjoy our beverages and food. And I'm like, you've only been, like, out of game. I'm like, you're only being nice to me because you think I'm important. But yeah, after a while of me stumbling around and having just fun being a ridiculous old man, as I am wont to do, the actual Primus comes in and says, like, did they treat you well? And I was like, yeah, okay, I explained what they did, like how they treated me and everything. And the whole idea was that was his first test, the test of hospitality, to see how well they would treat you, or how well they would treat a man who is supposedly an important figure, even if they were like a reprehensible asshole. And I was like, they're being nice to me because they think I'm important, but they did give me booze and bread, so that's good. And they're fun. And so that was good. Anyway. So then we kind of go to sleep, basically. The next day, Father Francis is on trial. So we ask him to come in his Sunday best. So he's all dressed up to the nines in like all of his kind of fancy attire because he's meeting before.
Is this outfits we've seen before?
I think so, but it's like all of his like fancy stuff, and there may be like some things that you haven't seen, but
oh my gosh, I'd die for a new outfit.
Definitely the one thing that we haven't seen is that mask.
Mask?
Oh boy. I'll explain the mask. Okay, so the Primus had different masks. The first night he came in, it was just a gold mask that looks a little bit like the Dollface's mask.
Oh my gosh.
So it was just there basically being
this is
a shiny
like Eyes Wide Shut.
He was basically being a shiny Dollface. Kind of throw a masked ball at it, catch it because it's shiny. So the next day when he comes in, he's wearing this wooden mask, which the guy who was playing the Primus like showed me beforehand, and pardon my French, but this fucking thing's cursed. Like, it is just cursed. It looks abysmal. It's not abysmal in like the ugly way, but abysmal in the literally terrifying way. I've got some photos which unfortunately listeners won't be able to see until I manage to work out ways to
listen to how great I react to this right now.
Yeah, I just on
I'll start
Messenger
practicing. Oh my gosh. Wow. I'll
Nailed
stop.
it. Okay, give me a second to find it. But like, okay, so while I'm looking for it, basically, what happens is once Father Francis is present, we then we're like, okay, he's like, okay, Father Francis, you are on trial for crimes against Nos. You're found guilty, so we're here to basically we're here to discuss your punishment.
Oh no.
Father Jack, please prepare the prisoner. So then I take him into cast cabin, and it's like, Oog, strip down to as minimal as you're comfortable wearing. we want you wearing as little as possible, obviously, that you're okay with, because you're being tried as a man, as a peasant, not as a priest, not as a father, not as a member of a town, just as a pure man, just as base a human as you can be.
Oh my gosh.
So then, despite being in Sunday best, he comes out and I've got his wrist and his neck tied with rope, so I'm kind of dragging him out. We were going to see if we could have shackles, but we couldn't find any, unfortunately. But yeah, so he comes out in just basically a tank top and shorts, like no shoes, no anything, no flower crown.
Oh man.
Meanwhile, while I'm preparing the prisoner, the Primus is saying, Father Francis has been tried, or is being accused of crimes against the Church of Nos. Mm-hmm. I, as the Primus and vessel of Nos, know he is guilty. That is not what this trial is about. This trial is to work out his punishment. The punishment for crimes against the Church of Nos by a father is death by void destruction. However, this trial is here to see if you can sway my opinion.
Oh my goodness.
So, I then come out pulling the prisoner down, and Father Francis, and then making fun of the Primus. Meanwhile, he said, okay, there will be an accusator and a defendant. Both are going to be chosen by the town. You need to select somebody who will be Father Francis's defendant, and somebody who will be Father Francis's accusator, as in why he should be, why his punishment is just and fair. Mm-hmm. So Verbena takes up the act as defendant.
Wow, okay.
And bloody hell does a fantastic job.
Of course, yeah.
Has me nearly crying in happiness because of how stoic and no, this is he is a good man. He has done wonders for us. He is the stillness in Holdfast's chaos kind of thing. Yep. I think Hare is the accusator.
Poor Hare. She's just look at him. He sucks.
It's done such that essentially everyone. Yeah, it's a case of the reason the town is chosen to be the accusators as well is because nobody should know a person's sins better than those close to him. Mm-hmm. So everybody gets to call 3 witnesses. I mean, from what I can gather, choosing Hare as the accusator and then all that was to try and basically say, well, yes, he's a bad man, but he's one of the reasons he's bad is because he's wasted on a little crap town like Holdfast. He should be put to use elsewhere in a bigger town. Basically to try and say, even if the accusator wins, this punishment is banishment rather than destruction kind of thing. I think that's the spin they were doing on it.
Right.
But, I'm not going to go into the whole trial because we could be here for hours, but, it was heart-wrenching and, each side chose 3 or each side were allowed to call 3 witnesses. So, on the defendant's side, Verbena chose, who did she choose? I can't remember exactly who she used, but she chose 3
this
people.
This boy, that boy, the other guy.
And it made sense. The people chose yeah, that's that. And when it came to the defendant or the accusator side, it was a case. I will let because it was nobody wanted to speak against Father Francis because he's just nice. He's just the nicest person. He is sweet and he's everyone's friend, and nobody wants.
He got mad at me.
He's really.
Yeah.
Well, you probably deserved it. He's like the guy in Blue's Clues. He's just he's your friend.
Steve, he's my friend forever.
And yeah, so the trial went on, and then finally, after everyone had that kind of speech, it was the Primus was okay, and now I asked the town to be the accusators because very few people know your sins better than those close to you. And there's only one person that knows your sins better than that, and that's you. Father Francis, why should we destroy you? And he has to make a case against himself. So he was basically confessing his essentially confessing his sins, if you will. But was and so these are the sins that I've confessed, but I want to go on record that I have no regrets. I would do it again in a heartbeat, and I will continue doing this.
Fuck yeah.
And stood up eye to eye with the Primus and was this is what I did. And yes, if these things are wrong, then I did wrong. But I will keep doing them. And it was whoa. And at which point, the Primus was okay, I've made my decision. And this whole trial was the second test, which was the test of compassion. Because Father Francis was never going to be void destroyed at all. That was essentially a ruse put on to make people invest, basically to bring out people's feelings and emotions about him, so that they can get an honest route, like basically, so we can
they can see how much people care about him.
Exactly. And his reward was promotion to Archprime of Holdfast. All previous charges are acquitted.
I have some problems. We don't need an Archprime. That's too imperial for me. Anyway, continue.
And he's also forever banished to Holdfast.
Oh my
and
God.
if he ever steps foot in Imperial land again, then he can be taken and tried and
that just means we get him forever.
That's the point. The point was not to make him a bad guy. The point was to say, you're doing a good job here. The thing that you are doing is good, and I want you to keep doing it. But as head of the state, I am bound by laws, and I am bound by what I should be doing, rather than what needs to be done. So his punishment was allowing him to continue doing those things further. And by being promoted and by being banished, it made sense that if anybody else from other Empire places came in, to be like, oh, you're doing crimes against us. It's like, I am being here of the will of the Primus. I am being banished here. I am the Archprime of here. I have authority.
I love that. Also, it's like, sorry, person who plays Father Francis, but you're stuck here.
Yeah.
The only way out is death. So you're stuck with us.
Then the final kind of trial that we have is the trial of ordeals, or the trial of trials. I can't remember what its name is, but essentially the trial of the big stuff.
Right.
Where it's like, I have sensed that you have a great evil or a great problem. I can give you a boon if you select a champion. Which is a good segue from the previous conversation we had about July Game, which was, there's this fella called Godo who's a bit of a not so nice fella. So then Holdfast tries to get a champion together. You're back for this.
Yeah, I'm back
Did
at
they
this
pick
point.
Degrim because we've had a whole tournament?
No, actually. I think it was...
Was it Pierre?
They asked for volunteers.
They asked for volunteers to basically to say, put yourself forward if you wish to be considered for it. The three people that were put forward were Hare, Zero, and Pierre.
Wow, interesting choices.
Because you had to have strength of body, soul, mind, and spirit.
Okay.
And those three people, like, we feel that we have it, so we'll put ourselves forward. Hare, I think Hare kind of chose to opt out after the first thing, because there was something about, like, you need to be able to put your pride behind you.
Oh.
And he's like, well, my pride is what I have. That is what makes me me, so I can't put that aside.
Legit. I like that.
So we end up with Zero and Pierre. All the meanwhile, you, Tony, as Kron, I can overhear you being like, oh, well, I'm not, like, basically kind of like doubting yourself.
Yeah, I didn't volunteer because at this point, Kron had sort of suffered a very definite defeat.
Yeah.
And he was unable to protect Degrin, who is a very close friend to Kron. His little sister basically was kidnapped, and all of these past memories that had just been welling up and flooding into his mind lately.
Yeah.
Like, this has happened before and nothing's changed. I'm still weak. So Kron just didn't feel like he was strong of neither body nor mind, so he didn't feel like he was worthy to take the trials.
Yeah.
So I didn't even bother volunteering.
It's fair. And I overheard that and, like, was gently, not egging you on, but was, like, trying my best to give drunken philosophy to you. On a side note, I think I'm okay to sign off on that skill if you want life skill drunken philosophy. But yeah, and so then the first is like a match of basically strength. Like, okay, it's going to be a duel. It's going to be a fight to the death. So we have Zero and Pierre. They do essentially a fight to the death, and it's a real, like, it. I don't, like, I don't know their stats, whatever, but it looks like it's a very close fight. And, like, Pierre is a fantastic fighter.
He's very technical.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I'm literally terrified of fighting Pierre. He hit me in the face once.
And like, Zero was easily holding her own.
Right.
Like, she was giving him what for. Like, they were both trading blows. I'm like, man, these people are doing well. And it definitely seemed like it was an incredibly close call. I don't know if it was or not, but that's definitely how it seemed.
Yeah.
And then Pierre came out as the victor. So I was like, okay, Pierre, you're strong of body. Do you want to continue with the trials? Okay, yes, he agrees. We then set up a ritual. I say we, like myself and the Primus, set up a ritual circle of, basically it was going to be a ritual circle of, or like a ritual square, because I had 16 Void Man and I was going to do I was going to draw a square on the ground. I dropped one of them, so I was like, okay, this is going to be a Void Parallelogram now. Which made sense because I was piss drunk. In game, of course. And so I'm just making this area, and this area becomes a wall of Void Destroys. So it's like, no one can go in, no one can go out, unless given express permission or allowed to by the Primus and the thing.
Okay.
So it's a case of if anybody tries to run in and interfere with the match, goodbye. I think if you're inside, you can leave safely, but you cannot come back in.
Okay.
But you can be invited in, and that's A-okay. So then, at some point, the Primus is giving, like, okay, so you need to be able to resist, like, magics and things. It's just like throwing spells left, right, and center, like tossing people, spinning people, throwing them to the ground, casting them aside or whatever. And he's like, this is just a touch of what you will face. So you need to be strong with that. Then he starts the final test, which is kind of, it's not an interrogation, but it's
a series of questions.
A series of very personal, very personal, very philosophical questions. Like the first one is, who are you? And so he starts out, well, I'm Pierre. It's like, no, that's a name. I don't care what you're called. I want to know who you are. It's like, I am Pierre of the Order of Iron, all that. And like kind of starts doing, like, getting more and more, like, using more and more titles, more of his full name. His surname is revealed. I'm not going to reveal it on air because I don't know if that's a thing he wants to keep secret, but his surname was spoken. And then all of this is like, no, these are names, these are jobs, these are titles, this is what you want to be. I don't care about all that. I need to know who are you. And eventually it's like, well, I don't know who I am. I came here to discover things, and I don't even know if the things I came to discover are the things I need to discover anymore.
Jeez, this is relatable.
Like, I am a person, and I do not know what my role is. I do not know where I stand. I know things I can do, and I know things that people believe me to be, but I do not know truly who I am. And it's like, excellent. This is what we need to know, because no one truly knows who they are. You can know what you do, you can know what you want to be, you can know where you came from, but where you are and who you are is never something you can completely fully define. Or it was worded better than I'm wording it, but it was along those lines. And there was a whole bunch of different questions, like where did you come from, which have an obvious answer of over there, but a more answer of where did myself, my being come from? Where are you going? Whatever. Then it started getting a lot more. The feel started hitting very well, because one of the questions was, who do you love the most?
Oh yeah.
So Pierre chose Degrin.
I heard that this caused a little bit of tension between.
Oh boy! So like, he is my closest friend, my most loyal brother. He is the person I would say I would love the most. So Degrin is invited into the circle. The Primus does a big speech about, people that you love will fall. Oh, no. Before that, he asks who is your most trusted companion or trusted fighter, and he chooses you, Ctonius Krond.
Yeah. So
Krond is invited into the circle. And it's like, you, in the heat of battle, even those you consider your closest allies can be, like that, become your most feared enemy.
Yeah.
Sound of my voice makes you blindly loyal to me, overriding all strong wills. And then just points to Pierre and says to Krond, kill him. So then they fight.
Oh my gosh.
Like, kill as in, like, 2 killing blow levels. Just before, I think, you decimate. Because, once again, I don't know your stats, but, like, it looked like both of you were going at it, and Pierre was still a little bit wounded from earlier.
I was oog going at it.
Yeah, you could tell. Like, nothing was held back, and it was absolutely incredible for that moment. But just before you were, like, literally about to kill his character, he was like, I release you. And then there was that moment of like, what have you done? And like, lots of big tensions, which I imagine, considering everything that Krond had happened, this was probably not the cherry on the cake, but was definitely an unpleasant aftertaste.
Yeah.
So I thought you were going to up and smack the Primus upside his head, and I genuinely
I
thought
was
that.
this close to doing that.
Oh boy, we planned what happened if anybody did, and I'm glad you didn't.
Sounds like a crazy game.
Oh, it gets worse. So then it was like, who do you love the most? Degran. They invite Degran. Then it's like, we've already shown that your trusted allies can become your most fearsome enemies. But those you love, these are the people you fight along with, to protect, to impress, to show loyalty, and a whole bunch of other things. Like, these are the people that you don't fight because you have to, you fight because you want to. You don't be with because you have to, you be with because you want to. They're some big spiel about this is what love is.
Right.
It's like, but things that you love can be taken away from you. And then like that, he's like, Power of Void destroys Degran. Who's just this game come back. So Degran's like,
Everyone's
like... I'm sitting next to Sharon at this point. When... Pierre says, oh, the person I love the most is Degran. Sharon just puts her hand over her mouth and is like, oh no. And I'm like, oh, you and I both know what's happening. And we're both there like... So as soon as it happens, Sharon's like, "Oog, see me in cast." He's fine. He got better. It was
He got obliterated. He'll walk it off.
Yes. I got better. It was designed such that he was like underhandedly saying a void destroy spells, but instead casting a teleport spells to just teleport and like.
Yeah, it was like transfigured. Yeah.
And then after he had turned his greatest ally against him and seemingly obliterated his closest loved one from existence, the Primus then casts his scepter of magic aside, throws like protective items away, leaving himself just an old man. And himself, now crying, says, and the final and most important question I can possibly ask you, he says, falling to his knees, is, can you forgive me?
Oof.
That was heavy.
Yeah, this is crazy.
So
I honestly, if that were me in there, I would have been like, "Fuck no!"
I'd be like, "Hell no!"
Yeah. So Pierre is already like buckled over, crying because of everything that happened. Less than a foot in front of him is the Primus, buckled over, crying. So Pierre could have easily taken him, but was like,
Pierre should have killed the Primus.
But Pierre was like, "Yes, I forgive you." And I think those were the last words he spoke for the next couple of hours. At some point, the Primus said, "What is your most favored item?" Or like, "What is the item that you cherish the most?" Pierre was like, "Oh, it's my circlet. I don't know what the circlet does, but he mentioned his circlet." So the Primus is like, "Void destroys your circlet." So he's like there tearing the tag up and everything. Because he's like, items, that you cannot rely on items. Items go. Items disappear. They can be stolen. They can be taken.
Damn, I remember when he got that.
And like afterwards, it like reformed and was given to him. Like everything that was destroyed in the test came back, which is why Degran was not truly destroyed, because it was done by basically mystical NOS bullshit. So at some point, Pierre is apparently like sitting somewhere, just like fingers interlaced, resting his hands on resting his head in his arms. Sharon comes by and says, "By the way, your circlet regenerates. Here's the new tag for it." Like all Pierre does, like out of character, is just kind of raise his hand briefly to say thank you, and then just goes back to silence. He's still processing this, and this was a big like whoa, because the Primus mod was supposed to be like a big. This could go one of two ways: very good or exceedingly bad.
There was no in between.
Yeah, there was absolutely no in between. And like the exceedingly bad is, it wouldn't necessitate a game reset, but it would. But you may have killed but if you did kill the Primus, you'd be killing the Emperor's half brother. So
yeah, so you're basically killing the whole game.
The Empire would be like, nah.
Yeah.
But
well, I think that might be a good place to leave things.
Yeah.
We've been recording for a while.
I'm sorry for just kind of spieling.
No, we did the same thing.
That was definitely the main thing that happened over the weekend.
There was lots of cool fighting on Saturday night, apparently. I say apparently because I was like, being drunk and stumbling is really difficult. Because I was putting effort into like drunken things, like stumbling and like catching myself, and it was hard, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I was like, I'm going to just lie down for a bit, and then slept from like 7 until like 2:30.
Oh my gosh.
Like, I'm going to go and have a drink and some food. And then there was a giant chonk cat. And I pet the cat and he loved me and it was great. And then 2 other players wanted to see the cat, but one of them was just wearing pajamas and not shoes. So I'm like, fine, just piggyback them to the cat. And then they pet the cat, and it was great. And then Sunday morning was the town meeting where it was discovered, like, what happened. Lady Val had gone to the library at the Isle of the Dead at the beginning of the game, which is why they weren't there for this game, and had information that related to what happened. I decided I've not played my character at all. I'm just going to come up from the ocean because I was busy being a queen.
We should get into all of that stuff next event memories because Godo told us he was giving us 2 months to kind of rest up and get ready.
Yep.
So he should be coming back September game.
Yeah. So
we found out a lot of stuff in that meeting with Val. She did a lot of research and came up with a lot of, I won't say answers, but some stuff has been revealed.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah.
I do want to make one thing. Say one thing though about Saturday night, and I thought it was funny. I think you might appreciate it.
Okay.
Yes.
So, Mitchell was playing a Hellion, and someone goes up and the Earth will petrify you for X minutes. And so he was just kind of like there, petrified. So I come up and I'm like, taps him on the head. What are you doing? I'm petrified. Oh! So I pick him up, I walk over to the ocean, and I chuck him in.
Stop doing that!
No!
The last time you threw something into the ocean, it came back.
One last thing before we sign off. I wanted to say a big thank you to Pierre because at July game, I was less than 2 minutes away from my final death, and he saved me.
Oh boy.
Yep. Thanks, Pierre.
Yeah.
Kudos, thanks, Pierre.
Let me tell you this season has been...
crazy.
The difficulty has been switched to hard mode now.
Yep, for sure.
It was like, it's like, the previous games were like, okay, you've done good. Now the kiddie gloves are coming off.
Yep. It's too bad.
We were warned about that at the beginning of the season, too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, we were. I thought they were just dicking with us, but no.
Nope.
Nope. It's no joke.
Oh boy.
All
well,
right.
anyway, guys, who's ready for September game?
Oh, gosh.
I'm not ready, but I'm ready.
Well, I'm ready to go. I don't know if I'm ready.
I am ready to be at September game and hopefully make it out of September game.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure about the latter one.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, Tony, I will see you at game.
I'll see you at game, Erica.
Jake, I'll see you at game.
I'll see you at game, Erica.
Jake,
All our friends out there.
I will see you at game.
Tony, I'll see you at game.
And all of our friends out there, we will see you at game. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have a bunch of stuff to talk about next time. It's going to be crazy. There's some new stuff coming up. We love you. We're excited. Thank you for supporting us. Bye.
Have a good day, guys.
Have a good day.